I've been world building a fantasy world in survival Minecraft for the last few months, and we're currently working on this fairy city found in the Sylvan Frontier. As we've been progressing throughout the series, I found myself in need of more items and thus more farms, so in today's episode, we're building a moss farm in this fairy city. If you enjoy Minecraft and lore, consider leaving a like and subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. Hey, Shoki here. Welcome back to another episode of Minecraft World Building, where we're building an interconnected world with lore. I hope everyone's having a good day because today is Earth Day, or at least it is while I'm filming this, but we're gonna build some earthly things in honor of Mother Nature. In the last episode, I built this honeybee hobbit hole, which houses my honeycomb farm, and I mentioned that I'm in dire need of some farms. So we're sticking to the same principle today, and we'll be building a moss farm, which would fit perfectly in this fairy nation. I'm trying to have a lot of the farms for natural blocks, like moss and honeycomb, to come from this area of the world. Oh man, it's getting late, gotta go to sleep. But like I was saying, I'm trying to have a lot of the farms for natural blocks, like honeycomb and flowers and moss and all that whatnot, to come from this area of the world where we have the fairies living, because fairies practice arboromancy or wood magic, and I think it would make sense for all those farms to be coming from this type of area. And since wood magic in my world is more so plant affinity, maybe all the farms for this area will be organic items like plants and flowers. But I'll also have to figure out which farms will go to the area of the world where I'll have the earth magic race, since earth and wood can somewhat have an overlap. Honestly, it would have been smart to introduce our earth magic race on Earth Day, but I don't think that far ahead, unfortunately. I honestly didn't even realize it was Earth Day until this morning. But speaking of farms, I'm all out of iron, so that's why we're up here in the mountain of the Sylvan Frontier, just looking for a bunch of iron to make this moss farm. Honestly, I really need to just make an iron farm, so I might be doing that soon, but we'll have to see. So we got a decent amount of iron, about, let's see, a stack and about a stack and a half. Not the greatest, but it's okay. I didn't want to go mining for too long, so this is about what we could find, but I think it'll be enough for what we're doing with the farm. I really just mined all the exposed iron I could find, and we're just gonna throw them in the furnace for now, and we'll have it smelt up. And in the meantime, while it's smelting, we're gonna head to the library to look at our lore book. Nothing like a rainy day to spend inside in the library and reading a lore book. The Entios, or fairies, can possess insectile-like capabilities. Although tiny in size, the Entios have keen senses and insectile-like strength, being able to carry up to 50 times their weight. Their similarities to insects make them fond of the creatures and will oftentimes keep them as familiars. So fairies are basically bug people who have insect capabilities. The Allegheny mound ant, for example, can lift up to 5,000 times its weight. So imagine if a fairy weighed 1 pound. It'd be like a human the size of your phone being able to lift a semi-truck. I nerfed them so they can only lift up to 50 times their weight, which is still pretty dang high, but it's much more reasonable. But maybe there's different species of fairies, like you'll have butterfly-style fairies who can use sonar abilities, and mosquito-style fairies, which sounds absolutely terrifying. Also, do you like the lore book? I've been playing with the idea of not using it anymore and just chatting about the lore that comes to mind instead. Sometimes I have a lot of ideas and I only put one lore idea in the book at a time anyways. So maybe instead I can just throw in lore in the books occasionally and hang them up in chiseled bookshelves throughout the world so that people can kind of look at them if I ever, put this world as a download. But maybe you really like the lore book and don't want it to go. If you like the lore book or don't like the lore book, just let me know what you think in the comments. So we're gonna find our redstone here. I did have some quartz, I didn't even realize. Got some more quartz in here. My storage is absolutely an abomination. This is supposed to be my stone storage, but as you can see, I've come to store a bunch of random stuff in here. Someone made fun of my storage and my inventory, and you know, you're right. I'll fix it eventually, but at the moment, this was supposed to be one of my fixes. I was gonna put all the stone stuff in here and, you know, ended up putting junk in here, but I'll eventually make a little area for all my wood so that I can, you know, kind of somewhat organize. But we are building a farm, so we gotta find a good spot for it. So we got the hobbit hole right here. I'm thinking I might build it somewhere around here. I have a centerpiece that I think I know what I'm gonna do for, but I'm not 100% sure yet. But I think we'll be building the moss farm very close to the hobbit hole, just to add a little more stuff around that area. So we're gonna clear out some trees, which I don't even have an axe for, but I will show you where we're gonna build. More unsolicited visitors visiting the hobbit hole. First the creepers, now the pillagers. So we cleared out the forest in front of the hobbit hole. It's going to be quite a large moss farm. Well, the moss farm itself is not really large, but the building is a little large. They keep snooping up on me like inch by inch. But for this moss farm, we're building a rotting log. It might not be exactly rotting, but it's a fallen tree basically. And later on, I'll probably be building a little trunk as well. But the moss farm will take place in a sideways log laying on its side, and it'll be very cute. But before we do that, we're gonna be building the farm portion of the moss farm. So we'll build the moss farm and hopefully collect some moss as we build the build. All right, square up. Die. Luckily, I have no villagers. Look at those boys having fun out there. Ain't that cute? Anyways, it's time to build that moss farm, so let's get to it now, shall we? Look at them playing in the rain. It's like that Squidward meme where he's like staring at Patrick and SpongeBob playing. Go away. Alright, so this is a farm by Basic Redstone, which is exactly what I need because I'm very basic. But we're gonna test it out and see if it's working. So you just flick the lever and we check. Yes. So it's supposed to push these out and then, oh, what happened? I think that's supposed to be how it's, yeah, okay, so it's working. So we put a little bit of bone meal. I don't have much on me at the moment. Turn it on. Aha. Wonderful. Just gotta make sure it's keeps going. There you go. Okay, so it's not like the fastest of farms, but you know, it's enough for a starter farm. Gotta be very careful there. But I think it'll be more than enough for a starter farm. It's supposed to collect a few hundred moss and items per hour, so should be pretty good for me. So we'll just let the farm run for a while as we build the exterior of the build, the kind of cute part that's encasing the actual farm. So let's get to building then, shall we? Looks like someone may have forgotten to pick up after their dog. Kinda looks like a giant turd, doesn't it? It's like, wow, that's a big log right there. But yeah, this is the non-decorated part of the build. This is just the log. Resembles quite a big poo, but you know, it's okay. This is supposed to be kind of like the rings of the tree that is kind of like uneven. It's honestly kind of ugly, but I'm gonna leave it there. The other side looks a little better. I left these little holes because I'm building like some little rocks and boulders. But this side is a little, you know, it's easier to see the little actual rings to build. But I think it's time for us to actually add some details to it to kind of bring it to life. We'll be kind of putting some moss. We got some moss on top of it right there. But we'll probably be bone mealing it in order to get some grass growing up on top of it as well. So let's get building now. And the big turd has been transformed into a proper rotting log, although I suppose a log has other meanings still. But I think it turned out pretty well. It's got some of the cartoony vibe, I feel, similar to the strawberry library we have here. But I think, you know, it's okay, since it's the fairies. But we added a bunch of different mushrooms and some flowers on top. We added these shelf mushrooms to add some splashes of color to the build. It was very brown, but this orange one is supposed to be like the chicken of the woods mushroom, if you know what that is. Apparently they're quite delicious and they taste just like chicken. But we also added some other color variants as well, just to break up the build a little bit. So we've got this bamboo plank one and some yellow wool mushrooms as well. And then this one got kind of turned into a little tiny window. We also added these conch style mushrooms as windows, which we used some diorite and plain terracotta that we got in a previous episode. And I think the diorite works really well for the stem, actually. Kind of fits the vibe. I'm not sure, I might extend this stem like up here to kind of make it turn into a kind of like a bay window that's kind of sticking out, and then the window itself, I guess, would also be kind of protruding out as well, but not too sure. It's very loud in there because the moss farm is running, but yeah, let's step back a little bit. And then for the front of the build, or the entranceway, we added a typical and classic red cap mushroom here, which we used the red mushroom block, and we used some stripped cherry wood to kind of add some pink warm hue to match the red mushroom block. And then on this side, we try to make it a little different. We had a little bit of a trunk sticking out, or not a trunk, a little branch sticking out that kind of got turned into a chimney. And then we also added these little stones that are very similar to the amethyst mine that we have which way over here. Let's see if we can take a peek at it from this direction. There we go. A little hiding right behind the mushroom block. There you go. So we've got these little stones And the stones are kind of similar to that amethyst mine because this one, as you can tell, has a window and it's a little hollowed out. So maybe the fairies hollowed it out, use it for extra interior space, or they use it as a little home. And then we also added these little tiny flowers here that are supposed to be what we call wood anemone. They tend to be a flower that kind of grows on the forest floor and fallen logs. So I think it kind of fits this whole vibe. I mean, they're very small, so they're very, very basic. It's just, you know, basically wool. And this one I used honeycomb, but the rest of them I used shroom lights that I got in the nether for. And then we use this bamboo fence, which honestly works really good for a stem because it's like hollow in the middle. So it looks beautiful. And then I think, you know, these are great for fairy children to parkour on, I might add. So I added like a little stairway here, or not stairway, I added a little fence, but gotta jump. Bam, right there. And then I'm not the greatest at parkour, but you know, I made it very, very basic. See, I think you could probably make this jump without the ladder, but you know, I tried multiple times and I'm not good enough for that. So we added a little bit of a ladder here, and then you kind of jump here and then jump here for the finish. Very basic parkour for a basic man. And it's nighttime, so time to sleep. And my health is going way down. This is why I die. But the old bee fairy cat lady or fairy bee lady will maybe she sleeps up here and watches the children play. That can be a little concerning sometimes, depending on, you know, the type of person. And then we've got it looks like a little Swiss roll here, but you know, it's pretty ugly, but we're just gonna ignore this. I might add like another entryway here because it's kind of annoying only having one entrance. Or I'll probably add maybe a side entrance on the other side, but who knows. Going inside though, we've got the moss farm. It's very empty in here. I'll probably be doing a little bit of decorating as well in this episode. But also this moss farm, it's very compact, very nice. The only thing about it is it has quite some loss. Just gotta step back because it's very loud. But what happens is these little stone right here, sometimes they're moss, and then when it plops out, they just fly out. So let's see if we can see that right now. Nope. But there's a lot of loss in this one, so I'm not sure I would recommend this farm. But I think I already built it, so you know, I'm gonna deal with it. You could probably fix it by adding just some little hoppers right here and then maybe adding a wall so that all the items that get shot out enter the hopper. But I'm a little broke on iron, so that's all we got. I think I'll be decorating this as well while we kind of chat a bit. So let me go grab some stuff and let's go decorate. All right, so we picked up a few things and we put in some flooring. We put in some oak mainly as the floor. And then we're gonna do a little chimney here, or a little fireplace here. So we're gonna put some rock or deep slate to kind of prevent a fire. And this thing is really kicking out a bunch of moss on the floor. All right, but let's see. If this was not a moss farm, I probably would have made it an inn. But I made a version of this a long time ago when I was younger, when I was still quite an inexperienced builder. I wouldn't say I'm like the crazy best builder right now still, but I've definitely improved. But I'll kind of show you an older version if I have a picture of it that I made. But if this wasn't a moss farm, it would have been an inn. So it would be like a fairy type of inn. But we're gonna, let's see, put this over here. So we're gonna kind of make a floor. So since I said it's an inn, it's like a fairy inn. There would be sleeping quarters. And this would kind of be a hub where when fairies come by, they'll, or if they're traveling or passing through, they'd come sleep here. Or the local fairies would kind of come here for a drink. So obviously the moss farm is taking up like half of the actual build itself. So for the inn, we're gonna just make it on this initial half. But we're gonna be making this flooring based off of the actual rings of the tree. So, for example, this layer was spruce, and this layer will be oak. That way you're kind of following the little history of the tree here. So basically, maybe the fairies kind of just etched this hollowed out, or they started hollowing out the log, but left a little bit of blueprints, or left a little bit of the wood and used it as a, you know, kind of a blueprint or plan. Kind of just wood carving, basically. So there you got one second story here. So this bottom layer will probably be a pub area, and then we'll be having a little fireplace here. So let's see how we want to do this fireplace. I think I'm going to be using deep slate. All right, so the fireplace is going to be going right around here. So we can make our fireplace something like that. Knock out this flooring here. Got to make sure it doesn't burn, you know. So, and then you would put a little iron grating here to prevent the fire from spreading, and something like that. Add a little bit of brick to kind of break it up a little bit. So something like that for the fireplace. And then we'll have a little bar right here where the fairy bartender will be, and it'll be like a little L bar. Just don't hit your head over here. But I actually had this build idea many years ago. I was thinking I would try to do a fairy type of build, and didn't work out so great, but here I am years later, and I think I've managed to do it. I mean, previously I was not very experienced at building, so I was doing quite blocky stuff. I didn't know how to do organics. I still would say I don't really know how to do organics, but I'm definitely better at it now. Not by much though. So we're gonna leave a little area here. So these are gonna be very tiny rooms, but let's see, we'll have, so like I said, the walls are gonna follow the gradient of the actual tree rings. So it's gonna be like this. We're gonna turn these into a little bench seat. Where is it? There it is, dark oak. So it'll be a little bench spot right here. Give her some little bar tables where you kind of stand and eat. Although maybe I'll give this one a chair. All right, I think I've had enough. We already toured the exterior of the build, so I'm gonna do a quick show of the interior, and I think we'll call it good. We also added these leaves just to add a little decoration and overgrowth. But here's the interior. Not too shabby for an inn, I'd say. Okay, this we gotta turn this off because it's a little too loud. But here is the interior of the inn. I'm really trying to do my best to do interiors for each build. But, you know, I'm pretty early game still and don't have some of the nice decorative blocks yet. So it can be a little tricky and a little slow. I also have no farms, so I really need to ramp up my farms. But here we've got a nice little fireplace going, where the fairies will kind of keep warm and they'll be drinking over here. We've got some bar tables, some regular tables for you to sit down in, maybe grab a snack. But I imagine fairies probably are drinking pretty fruity drinks, given that they practice wood magic or arboromancy, so they can kind of, you know, make the best tasting fruity wines and other alcohol. I'm sure they can make beer pretty well too. But so we've got this farm right here. We've got an upstairs. But here is the little bar where the tavern maid or tavern fairy will kind of keep drinks and kind of brew something up here. Pretty simple. Decorative pot here. This farm has actually been working really well. Despite the loss, it's got quite a ton of stuff here. And, you know, I've got a ton of moss already. I probably don't need to really run it that much anymore. I really wish that we could have mobs kind of patrol a certain area, like patrol a radius, where you can have mobs move within a certain area, because this inn is lacking quite a bit of life in here. If we could have mobs kind of just walking around and chilling, that'd be fantastic. We also got a little painting there. But this is upstairs. Got some rooms up here. Very, very basic rooms. This one's got a good view of the hobbit hole. You can see the bees hard at work there. And this one, same thing, very tiny. And to put the finishing touches to the build, we'll put a sign right here that calls this inn the Sleepy Hollow. Pretty clever name for a hollowed out log, I'd say, and for an inn. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. I really do appreciate y'all taking the time out of your day to watch this. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye now.